I had about 200 stitches from the waist, music down. I heard later that no women had ever ridden. The horrifying story of Annette Eckis. For 50 years, SeaWorld was the go-to place for killer whale action. The aquatic park continued to bring in new orcas, making the Shamu show a must for anyone visiting the park. But in 2016, SeaWorld began to close up shop on their killer whale breeding program due to multiple decades of people bringing to light the poor health of killer whales in captivity. One notable incident sparked this change. It originated in 1971 with the first human incident involving orcas in captivity. A young SeaWorld PR secretary by the name of Annette Eckis was riding on the back of the park's beloved orca, Shamu, as part of a film publicity stunt when suddenly she slipped off the whale and into the water. Shamu quickly turned on her, biting down on her leg and refusing to let go, leaving Annette screaming for her life as the 3-ton orca was hellbent on bringing her down. This is the horrifying story of Annette Eckis, the first person to be attacked by an orca in captivity. Annette Eckis was a curious child, but as she got older, her life took on meaning when she began working as a secretary at SeaWorld. She didn't just want to work with people, she wanted to help animals as well. In 1971, she was talked into being part of a publicity stunt. She was supposed to ride a captive orca in a bikini, but it all went horribly wrong, and it was remembered as one of the worst orca attacks ever. Shamu, a southern resident killer whale, was born in the J-Pod around 1961. Growing up, she spent her days with her family with a diet mainly consisting of salmon. Every summer, she and her mother joined the annual Superpod gathering with other southern residents. In 1965, aquarium owner Ted Griffin, having acquired a killer whale named Namu, sought to capture another one. On October 31, 1965, Shamu and her mother were spotted in Puget Sound by Griffin's capture team, and they decided to try and seize them. The chase lasted over 17 hours, and the whales were eventually netted in Henderson Bay on November 1. Tragically, Shamu's mother died during capture. After being captured, Shamu was separated from her mother at the shy age of 4 years old. This was very stressful for her, especially at that age, as orcas are social beings and have deep connections with other orcas. Now all alone, she was moved to Namu's winter pen, and they eventually tried to connect them. However, incompatibility with Namu led to her being put up for sale. Ted Griffin landed a deal and sold her to SeaWorld, which was then a recently opened marine park in San Diego. Desperate for a main attraction, they bought her for $75,000. It was here that the orca was named Shamu due to her connection, or lack thereof, to Namu. She made history as the first killer whale to travel by airplane and arrived at SeaWorld San Diego on December 20, 1965. SeaWorld hit the jackpot when they got their hands on Shamu. She wasn't just a whale, she was the start of something big. In the years that followed, SeaWorld went on a killer whale shopping spree, bringing in hundreds of them from all over the world to multiple marine parks. They captured them in the wild, and when that became illegal, they started breeding them in captivity. Shamu's arrival at SeaWorld marked a turning point for the park. In a small pool near Dolphin Lagoon, she shared space with a Pacific white-sided dolphin named George. Shamu quickly adapted to performing and became the star of a show named Shamu Goes Hollywood. Everything seemed to be going well. People came to watch Shamu, and nobody could have possibly predicted the incident that would unfold in just a couple of years. Their orca shows were growing in popularity, so much so that in 1967, 2 male southern residents, Ramu and Kuroi, were also caught and transferred to SeaWorld. Ramu was the older one and was immediately put together with Shamu. Kuroi, being younger, didn't join them immediately. However, by 1969, he moved in with them. In 1969, the first major problem occurred when all 3 whales contracted the Hong Kong flu, but with antibiotics, they eventually recovered. Shamu, as observed during her performances, reflected a mix of intelligence, curiosity, and adaptability. While her life in captivity raised ethical concerns, many acknowledged her unique qualities and the bond she formed with her trainers. Personality underscored the challenges faced by marine animals in artificial environments. In December 1971, SeaWorld introduced Candu to the mix, a female whale captured with Ramu and Kilroy. Candu was the young orca that was supposed to take the reins and be a star. She immediately got attention from trainers, and now Shamu didn't have to be the sole main attraction anymore. When Candu grew a bit more mature, things got complicated. Due to poor living conditions, Candu passed away just a few months after she was introduced to SeaWorld San Diego. She was sick for about a month before passing due to pneumonia and stomach ulcers. After Candu died, they knew something had to be done for the killer whale, so they designed a new pen. In May later that year, Shamu was moved to SeaWorld's newly built killer whale stadium, costing $1.5 million. Ramu took over her old habitat for some time for training purposes, but eventually, she joined Shamu at the new stadium shortly thereafter. Throughout her life at SeaWorld, Shamu was involved in various waterworks and performances. She showcased remarkable intelligence and adaptability, captivating audiences with her agility and grace. While Shamu's life was marred by the controversy surrounding captive marine animals, her behavioral incidents were mainly confined to her interactions with other whales and the challenges of adapting to captivity and being moved relatively often. Only a month after Shamu got a new and improved habitat, the difficulties started to kick in. On April 19, 1971, something went awry during a publicity stunt involving Shamu and 22-year-old park PR secretary Annette Eckis. The plan was for Eckis to ride on Shamu's back while wearing a bikini. However, things took a turn when Shamu's tail started fluttering, which is a sign of agitation. After just one lap around the pool, she made Annette slip off, and that's when things got intense. Shamu bit into her leg and held on tight. It took a trainer using a pole to pry Shamu's mouth open and free Annette from her jaws. She was soon rushed to the hospital, needing between 100 and 200 stitches, and the incident left her with both physical and mental scars. Some say that Shamu's unusual reaction might have been triggered by the bikini Eckis was wearing. You see, Shamu had only been used to swimming with trainers in wetsuits. This wasn't the first time Shamu acted aggressively toward people in swimsuits. She had a history of showing similar behavior toward a swimsuit model and even a SeaWorld trainer. To make matters more concerning, Shamu had been acting strangely since March of that year. Annette recalls the incident vividly to this day. She was basically sitting on Shamu's bottom jaw, with the teeth on her thighs, and was hanging on to the top of her head for most of it. There was a lot of blood, but surprisingly, there was no pain. The water was cold, and Annette was in shock for quite a while. She had to grab onto the wall and hold on for dear life, as she was terrified that Shamu would dive and go down. In 2010, she was a brief guest on Larry King after more recent Orca attacks, where she described the incident in far greater detail. She described working as a secretary at SeaWorld San Diego when she was asked to do this stunt for promotion. They had changed the whale from a smaller tank to a larger tank, and so there was news media there at the time. She doesn't know why Shamu attacked her, except for the theory she had heard that no one had ever ridden an orca without a wetsuit, and no women had ever interacted with Shamu. Shortly after the attack, it was discovered that Shamu was pregnant. This also might have caused her aggression toward Annette. While not officially confirmed, it was also certain that the father was Ramu. Unfortunately, the joy of Shamu's pregnancy was overshadowed by tragedy. On Sunday, August 29, 1971, Shamu passed away, taking her unborn calf with her. The cause of death was pyometra, a severe uterine infection that can be life-threatening. Pyometra often occurs due to hormonal imbalances, specifically fluctuations between estrogen and progesterone. During pregnancy, increased progesterone levels can lead to the thickening of the uterine lining, providing an ideal environment for bacterial growth. As the infection progressed, bacteria entered her bloodstream, causing septicemia. This led to widespread inflammation and organ failure. Shamu's death marked the end of an era, as she was the first killer whale to be captured intentionally for live display and became an iconic figure at SeaWorld. But her demise did not halt the shows. SeaWorld San Diego announced that they would continue with the performances despite everything that had happened. Shamu's life included not only moments of awe during performances, but also instances of unpredictability and tragedy. The incident with Annette Eckis shed light on the challenges of interacting with killer whales in captivity, and Shamu's pregnancy and subsequent death revealed the delicate nature of life in a marine park setting. But her legacy extends beyond her time at SeaWorld. Her name has become synonymous with killer whales in captivity, serving as the stage name for subsequent orcas at SeaWorld. The debate surrounding the ethics of keeping killer whales in captivity gained momentum in the aftermath of Shamu's life, shaping public perception and influencing marine mammal regulations. SeaWorld did try to distance itself from the name Shamu due to the tragedy, but it stuck around, and they had to embrace it. Shamu's name isn't just a name, it's a brand. SeaWorld made Shamu a superstar, and her legacy lives on as the trademark stage name for all of SeaWorld's killer whales. It was everywhere, on merchandise, in shows, at park locations, in video games, and in advertisements. Shamu became a symbol for SeaWorld despite passing away. It's interesting, though, that the character of Shamu took on a bit of a twist. Shamu, despite being female, was often shown as a male. In 2004, SeaWorld even released a video game called Shamu's Deep Sea Adventure where Shamu, the male character, had to save SeaWorld from Poseidon and the Kraken. SeaWorld really ran with the Shamu theme. The killer whale shows had Shamu in their names, like Shamu Rocks America and the Shamu Adventure *. The stadiums where the massive shows were held were called Shamu Stadium * for a long time. At long last, in 2016, SeaWorld noticed a shift in public opinion on orcas and finally ended their orca breeding program. This was due to a combination of strong protests, many annulled sponsorships, and a wave of celebrity criticism. It all started with backlash from the 2013 documentary Blackfish *, and the orcas currently in captivity will be the last generation to perform. Should SeaWorld have halted live orca shows prior to Annette's incident? How does such bad care toward animals go unnoticed for decades? Our opinions are reserved, but maybe another orca attack story could answer these questions.